Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday. Not quite sure what the date is, but we're up and going before 7 a.m. It's taking me a little bit of time to get everything set up this morning again. For those of you that stumbled upon me, this is Dave Bernard. I am a 47-year-old fat man. And I am just getting started in the last couple weeks on a new weight loss journey to get down to 244 pounds so I can have my umbilical surgery. And I have chosen to use cycling as my way of doing that. And of course, it won't be the only thing I do. I happen to live adjacent to around 2,000 acres of state game area here in Michigan, and so we'll be out using that land hiking. There's about 7 miles of trail. There's a good 4-mile loop that I like to hike on, so we won't just be indoors. I'm using the Wahoo Kickr trainer, my Raleigh Willard 2 gravel bike, obviously the Zwift app, and a whole bunch of other nonsense to actually be able to, oh, we're going uphill now. Oof. Whole bunch of other nonsense to stream this information to you. So this morning, the reason it took me so long to get started is because I'm still in the process of figuring out how this all works. You know, as far as the OBS software that I'm using to stream, the Restream IO program that allows me to stream to both YouTube and Twitch at the same time, and of course there's other services I could stream to, but that's where I'm streaming right now. And then, you know, I'm using a Lenovo Flex 5 laptop, which isn't super powerful. Has a i5 processor or a CPU, which is probably the biggest part of the problem, I believe. And so that's why you're seeing the lag on the Zwift app, is that it's running OBS and Zwift at the same time is very taxing on my system. And so I still have to come up with a solution, which, you know, one solution is obvious, that I just go out and get a different computer, but I don't want to do that until I have to. And right now I don't feel like I have to. So just bear with the fact that the Zwift app that you're watching is very, unfortunately not very smooth, but that's why it's jerking all the way through. It is really my computer. And it may crash. I mean, that's always a possibility. Last time we streamed, halfway through it, me here on the lower left side actually froze right up, which was fine. I don't think anybody cared. Matter of fact, it was kind of funny if you saw that I ended up with my mouth open the second half of the video. And that video is not on YouTube right now. It's unlisted. That's why you don't see it. What I'm trying to do is listen to some of the other YouTube experts out there, and basically what they said to do is take your YouTube video and put it up on your website. So if you go to ulflife.com, if you want to watch the last one, don't know why you would, but if you did, you can go there and see the last deal. One thing I forgot to do, seems like every time I do this I forget a little something else, but one thing I forgot to do was get my fan started. didn't think I'd actually notice that, but I did. I noticed it. Don't mind the sniffles. Here we're in the Michigan. It is cold. So this kind of happens. Anyways, it's actually not terrible. I have a temperature gauge here that reads both the indoors and outdoors temperature, and I'm currently, it's 13 degrees outside. It's been actually warming up all morning. It was I think it was 10 degrees when I woke up, so it is climbing. Yesterday it was negative, and the day before I believe it was negative 0. And of course we're Fahrenheit here in the United States, so whatever that is Celsius, I don't know. But anyways, yeah, so I'm still trying to figure out how to get this all working. So this morning what I worked on was trying to turn off the background apps, because I noticed that Google Chrome that I do have on the computer, but I'm not using right now, though it wasn't registering any CPU, I got a lot of stuff that's hitting me on the memory side. So I kind of gave up and didn't want to keep working on that. Just thought I could turn off the background apps, and that would actually help with the latency issues and the CPU usage, but it didn't seem to do anything. So, and I know I'm not maxing things out with Zwift and OBS, even though they both are very CPU intensive as far as what they use, but we'll figure it out. The next step I'm going to take to do it on the cheap is, instead of running Zwift through my computer, I'm going to try to run Zwift through my phone. So I have an adapter coming that'll take my phone from the lightning port to an HDMI, and we're going to see how that works. See if that actually helps. Well, it should help, but it's just a matter of how is that going to connect. And the problem with connecting that way is that I won't have my camcorder, so you won't be able to see my pretty face while I ride. Again, not something I think anybody's gonna mind a whole lot, but so it's been pretty cool for me, I think, so far. I mean, I've been happy with being able to figure out to getting it this far. If anybody's on the chat or anything like that, and you want to throw something at me, well, it looks like somebody actually might have. So that's another one of the problems that I'm noticing. I don't have the ability to read what the chats are saying yet, and I'll figure that out. Oh, well, it's a message that went out on one of the messaging systems. Is all it says is that I'm going live, and so more to come. I can see why some of the guys that do this actually state to everybody that they've got a whole lot of equipment involved in doing this. So I could see having maybe a couple of iPads connected or set up in front of me here on the bike just to monitor everything else going on. To have the chat up so I could actually read it, to have the app itself running through it instead of the laptop. I mean, I could see a reason. So this morning on Zwift, I think we're riding New York City. Every day it seems to be something different. I don't really know all the options. I think you can. I think when you just hit just ride, you end up riding. I think London, New York City are the two, and then I think it's called Watopia or something along those lines. That is the other stuff. I haven't gotten into any training as far as what the app offers. All I'm doing at this point right now is getting my body back used to moving. I unfortunately sit on my ass for 8 to 10 hours a day, it seems like, with my job. I mean, we're up and moving every so often, but it's not much. That's fucking sad. This guy just ran right by all of us. So you can, the cool thing about Zwift is that you can actually be on a treadmill and run also instead of riding your bike. Last time I was on, I didn't know how that worked, and I took a little bit of time to look it up. And when you start the app, you just say whether or not you want to ride or run, and it's really that simple. So and then I think it's the little dongle that, or whatever it's called, that you put on your shoe that, you know, is able to measure your stride or running or steps or whatever the hell it does. Is like $50 on the Zwift website. I don't know if any other thing actually works, but I do know that you can buy it. Yeah. So I think the wattage that the Kickr is able to go up to is like 1800. So that gives you a little reference of how terrible I actually am here. Only rocking out like less than 200 watts. And of course, if that wasn't enough of a clue, you can see how slow I'm going too. On the road, I tend to ride around, you know, 12, 13 miles an hour on I would say on an average, and going downhill up to 29, 30 miles an hour, but nothing super fast. And of course, going uphill is pretty slow, but that's part of the deal. I mean, I'm so heavy that obviously going downhill is gonna be pretty fast, and going uphill is gonna be a huge disadvantage. And the Wahoo Kickr really represents that fairly well. I don't think that the speed is represented very well. I don't think that matches what I do on a normal ride, but so far I'm fairly happy with the Zwift app. I mean, I think it's kept me interested, even though I've spent more time actually learning how to stream all of this, and not really worried too much about paying attention to the app. So what happens for me is that I end up being super distracted by trying to do the streaming, to where I don't even hardly notice I'm even working out. The other day when we rode, which was Saturday the 19th, which makes today the 22nd now I figured that out. What happened the other day, of course I just lost track of what the hell I was even talking about. Oh yeah, so what happened the other day was that I was riding, and I was so distracted by watching my CPU usage, watching, you know, the stream itself, the OBS software, that after about an hour riding, all of a sudden I was like, well, wait a minute, my legs hurt. So, I mean, I almost forgot I was riding that whole time. So, anyways, so I haven't been spending a lot of time as far as concentrating on the riding and all that, but I'm so out of shape again that for me, just getting on the bike is all that matters. And just doing the ride doing whatever Zwift tells me to do, not worrying about turns or anything. And as you can tell, I'm out of breath and I've barely even started. So, you know, but there again, I mean, I say I barely started. I've been riding for almost 15 minutes and it feels like, you know, a minute or two. One thing is, a couple weeks into it now, I think I've owned this for just over 2 weeks. Probably only ridden it 4 or 5 times. My ass is finally getting used to being back on a bike, which is one of the more challenging parts for me, is just getting my ass used to this. I mean, I'm not saying cycling sucks, because I love it. I wouldn't be doing it if I thought it sucked. It's just like anything else, you got to get used to it. And my ass is finally getting used to it. The other thing that slowed me down this morning is my heart rate monitor. I didn't have it charged, and I used this Mio, the thing that I bought. I bought this thing years and years ago. I bet you I've owned it at least 5 years, and maybe not that long, but luckily it still worked, because it does have firmware in it, and I have had it lock up on me when I haven't used it in a long period of time, and I was able to figure out how to get it reset, luckily. And I don't remember how I did it. I just know with a lot of searching back then, I was able to find somebody else that had the problem and figured out how to fix it. But anyways, that thing was near dead, so I charged it for not very long, 15 minutes maybe, while I was figuring out everything else. And so that's good. I mean, I'm glad I'm able to actually see my heart rate. So it's at 139. I think at my age, 47 years old, I think max heart rate they want me at was like 160 at the most. Like, that's the red line. There's always a good chance that I'll exceed that, just being out of shape, but I'm not putting a lot of watts in right now, so I'm not. And wattage is, you know, how it equates in my mind, at least, is that it's the effort, you know. So even though I'm pedaling super fast at certain points, because I don't have it in the right gear, I'm not producing a lot of watts. So when you see it go well over 200, that's because I'm probably close to performing where I need to. But you know, you start going uphill and you're trying to keep your pace or cadence going, and it ends up, like right now, you know, it's taking it up to a minute ago, a couple seconds ago, just over 200, because we're starting to go uphill and there's more resistance. One of the other things that I have to do is, all right, we're gonna take it down because I'm just not in shape to do that yet. Is my bike is definitely not adjusted correctly to the rear cog set. So even though my Zwift Kickr has a 9-speed cog set on it with the spacers that were provided by Wahoo, it is not the same brand. It's not. I mean, I have a Shimano on my rear wheel, and on the Kickr, I think it's a, I don't know, whatever brand it is. It's not Shimano, and I don't know that that matters because I'm not a bike mechanic expert, but the two of them aren't synced up by any means, and so the bike's not quite set right. And it's something I'm gonna have to work on, or take it into a bike shop and get it set right. But for now, I'm just trying to move for long periods of time, and not exactly sure what time I got started, but I'd like to ride for about an hour. That gives me enough time to cool down and then get ready for work. And fortunate for me, I live, you know, less than 10 minutes away from where I work, so it doesn't take a whole lot to get ready. It takes longer to stop sweating than it does for me to get in the shower and, you know, get dressed and all that. Oh man. If you happen to be watching on YouTube or Twitch, throw me a chat, man. If you're not watching, screw you. No, I was kidding. Oh, looks like we froze up again on the cam link. So hopefully I don't look as goofy as I did the other day. So I think that's just a results from the CPU just getting taxed out. So I'm hitting 100% on the CPU usage, and something's got to give, and the computer's deciding that it's the webcam, which I am totally fine with. For anybody wondering who I am or where I am on this, I'm this no helmet wearing Zwift guy. Oh. Let's see if we can change the view. So there's ways to actually change how the view that the Zwift app shows, and I tried to do that, it didn't respond, so not sure why I didn't respond. Don't really care right now. Here's all I can tell you. In the beginning here, I don't have a lot of followers, if any, and that's totally fine because I'm still trying to figure out how all this works. My goal in streaming is, one, as I accomplish my goal, which could take me up to a year, by the way, to get down to 244 pounds, you know, I want to pick up different people and use this as a way to help inspire them to get up and do something themselves. And you know, they don't have to spend this money that I have, which the biggest expense was the Kickr trainer itself. And you can look that up and see how expensive that is. Oh boy, we're really going up a hill now. There's no avoiding it. I can't change gears anymore. So I'm stuck. But it's just, you know, the idea here is, I mean, that's one of them. One, as I get followers, which hopefully I will, it's going to make me more accountable. So it's going to make me, you know, if people are saying, you know, if I put a schedule together, let's say, which I need to do, and I say that every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, something like that, I'm going to ride at 7 a.m. Or, you know, maybe I'll have an invite where I'll be riding later in the day. You know, people can jump on and throw a thumbs up or a cheer or, you know, some words of encouragement, or even tell me how stupid I am, which is, all of it's fine. But I think that would, you know, that kind of makes me accountable to a point where if I'm not on, especially when I say I'm going to be on a schedule, that people are going to call me out on it. And I kind of need that, to be honest with you. So that's another one of the reasons for doing this and streaming it. And obviously, you don't need to stream it. You can, you can just get the Zwift app on your, oh my gosh, on your iPad or your tablet or your Android tablet or your phone or anything like that. You don't have to stream. You can just ride, and we could actually ride together as long as you're completely out of shape like I am, because if you aren't, you're not going to have a lot of fun riding. Well, let's put it this way, we won't be riding together. I'll be basically walking like I am now. I can walk faster than this. So, but hey man, it's all part of it, right? The other thing that's funny, even though I'm frozen, I can barely see my laptop from where I'm at. I noticed that I wore this shirt, this old shirt of mine that has green in it, and of course I have a green screen behind me. It's the reason you're seeing me the way you are. And so you can, because the chroma key is set to green, you can actually see the background in my chest. Awesome. Oh man. Well, we're only 24 minutes into my hour-long ride that I planned on doing, and I'm wondering if I'm gonna make it or not, because I'm not feeling it right now. Starting to hurt, starting to get sore, starting to sweat. I don't know, we'll see. I definitely have to keep stopping, which I haven't had to do much in the last couple rides, so. And you can tell when I stop because the clock will stop, and I'm gonna show that right now. As long as that wheel is turning in the background, it's gonna. So as you can see right there, I am completely stopped at 24 minutes and 48 seconds, and so it only tracks my time if I'm riding. And so if I took a break, and let's say that I just wanted to do like an interval type training where I rode for 5 minutes and took a break for a minute, rode for another 5 minutes, took a break. If I did that, it wouldn't register that 1 minute break time. It would only register the time that I'm actually pedaling. So that would be one drawback if you're trying to use this for pure interval training. But at the same time, that only matters if, you know, you're using this data as part of your plan. If you're in the beginning like I am, who cares? You're just riding. It doesn't matter. And you don't even have to use that ET time up there. You can use just your regular clock and keep track of it, or put a timer or a stopwatch on your phone and use that. I mean, you don't have to use this as your pure measurement. I mean, it's just like anything. The goal is just move. Just get moving. Who cares? You know, if you have a heart rate monitor, pretty much any monitor is going to work if it uses Bluetooth. You can use an ANT monitor and get one of those dongles, but I barely even know what the hell that even means. So usually you want something that has Bluetooth capability, so that it'll connect to your computer and or your phone or whatever device you're using to run Zwift. But keep an eye on that. Make sure that you're not blowing your heart out, but also make sure that you're riding hard enough to where it matters. I mean, I wouldn't say 130 beats per minute is much of a cardio exercise, but at 300 plus pounds, fuck it. It's a lot for me. And hey, this is what it is. Anybody that just stumbled upon these two live streams, whether you're on Twitch or YouTube, I'm just a fat guy trying to get up and moving. And so I've only been at it for a couple of weeks, and I've only ridden a few times because I'm out of shape, and so I can't do more than that. I mean, my ass hurts, my hands are starting to hurt, triceps are starting to hurt, and of course you can't see me riding because the cam link froze up on me, which I'm using a Vixia HF 400 by Canon, which is a super old camcorder, but it happens to have two different things. One, well, the main thing that matters for this is that it has a HDMI mini out, so I'm able to connect that to the Elgato cam link so that I get a better picture. The problem is that the cam link is also CPU intensive and memory intensive, so it's froze up, and that's the second stream in a row that it's done that. So, which is fine. Don't have anybody really paying attention here, which is probably a good thing. I do need to work on the restream chat as far as what it's showing there. I don't like the fact that it's showing, you know, the announcement that I'm out, up and going. Of course, that would probably disappear if anybody was chatting with me directly. But I don't have, right now I had the Zwift companion app open. And I don't know if I have an app. Nope, I have to actually go online to get to it. So, oh man. As you can tell, I got a little bit of a cold going on, or started here. And probably luckily for you, I don't have any snot rags next to me, so you're just gonna have to listen to me sniffle for as long as you watch this. As far as how I'm streaming, it's been a bit of a journey figuring out how all this works. You know, I'd like to think I'm fairly tech savvy as a 47-year-old, and anybody that's my age that's watching this would probably agree. You'd probably think I'm some expert, but by no means am I even close. And so just figuring out how to get this working has been a bit of a challenge. And it is what, you know, it is what it is. Also, if you happen to stumble on this, you see that picture on the right there, that before and after. That's part of my current inspiration, but that was me back in 2012 when I lost, I think, 67 pounds. And I lost more fat than that really represents, because I put on some muscle during that period of time, just with the way I was training. But yeah, I mean, obviously that'd be an inspiration to anybody that saw it. But that wasn't, you know, I used 90 days at a time as part of the way I trained and planned and set goals. But that was an 8-month transformation right there. That wasn't 90 days by any means. Nor did I even pretend like it was back then, like a lot of other people tend to do. You know, now, is 90 days a good challenge time? Yeah, it is. There's a lot of science behind why it is. From the mental standpoint, I can tell you that I remember being probably 2 months into it, so around 60 days, and thinking, fuck this, I am done. I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to follow this diet that I was on at the time. I'm done. Well, what happens mentally is you're like, yeah, but you know, it's only 30 more days. It's only a couple more weeks or a few more weeks, and screw it, I can do it. You know, let's just finish this out and then we'll be done. Well, that last, I'd say 15 days is really where, as they say, for your first 90 days, that's where the magic happens. I mean, that's when your body really starts taking to the changes that you've made nutritionally, metabolically. I mean, your metabolism changes, really starts to hit that change in that 70, 80, 90 day period of time. And then, you know, even if you slack off a little bit, your metabolism's still working fairly decent. Now, if you slack off too much longer, you're just going to go back to being whatever you were before. But yeah, so 90 days at a time was really good for me, and it worked. And even if it was a placebo effect, even if it was just me thinking it would work, fuck it, who cares? I mean, it worked. So it doesn't matter if it was just a mental game or what it is. It just worked at the time. Now, the question that if I was somebody would say, first of all, how the hell did you get to be that fat in the, you know, for the before picture? Well, I played college football, and I played football throughout my youth, and that was kind of my thing. And when I trained, you know, I was very serious about my training when I was young, but the purpose behind it was just football. It was just to get ready for football. I played at university, and so when that all ended after a knee injury that well, that'll be a different story, different day. But as that all happened, you know, I didn't have any real purpose to work out, and I put just as much effort into my career at the time as I did anything else, you know, as I did into training and football and studying. I turned that over to my career. My career, you know, I worked at General Motors, and as I rose up the ranks, I became less active, and to a point that all I was doing was sitting in meetings. And I'm trying to get on Restream right now so I can actually hopefully see the chats. We'll have to see here if I can figure out how to do that, because I think we might actually have somebody. And if you're on there, I apologize. I mean, I'm just figuring out all this stuff. I mean, I think it's pretty impressive that an old fucker like me actually even got this far, let alone anything else. So well, all right, so that's a chat. I'll open a browser. I'm slow, right? I mean, it is what it is. don't worry about it. So I know somebody was out there at least following, so that was cool. But I'm gonna type in hello and see if that makes it up to the screen there. But anyway, so yeah, back to the story. All right, so I definitely have some work to do on all of this. I mean, that chat's pretty annoying since it's all it keeps saying is, hey, I'm out there. But holy shit. So anyway, so back to the story. So 16 years of doing nothing, sitting in meetings. That's how you get to that before picture. And how do you get to that after picture? Well, one, it was 8 months of eating pretty good. You know, 90% of the time I'd say I stayed on track. I was using a meal replacement shake at the time. And so basically how my routine went is I woke up, had a shake within the first 15 minutes of waking up. That was my breakfast. 2.5 hours later, I ate a snack. Let's see here. So 2.5 hours, I ate a snack. 2.5 hours after that, I had a fairly low-calorie lunch. Towards the middle to end of it, I think it was just like a chicken breast and maybe a little bit of rice or something and nothing else. 2.5 hours later, another snack, which a lot of times would be a bar, you know, a protein type bar or something along those lines, or almonds, or, you know, something not much. And then finish the day off with another shake. And then because I was just such a obsessed eater, you know, I would always still have some kind of light snack. But from a nutrition standpoint, I was getting the nutrition I needed from the meal replacement shake, I felt. But there was no secret to it. Hey Will, awesome man. Thanks for following me. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I'll be doing the same thing here shortly. But cool deal. I really appreciate you following me. And I will put a schedule out so that this becomes a little more consistent, not only for myself, but for anybody that wants to help cheer me on my what I call Mission 44. Mission 44 is me getting down to 244 pounds, or a BMI of 35, which is what my surgeon said I needed to do in order to have the umbilical surgery that I need. But anyway, so that was the nutrition program back then, but there's no secret. I mean, just kind of even in my head, I was probably somewhere between 1,200 and 1,700 calories a day. And at the time, I was also working out a lot. And I used the Beachbody, one of their tapes. I can't remember which one it was. It was the Sean T, whatever the heck deal. And so I did that for my first few months because I just didn't want anybody to see me. I mean, I was embarrassed by what my body looked like, and I didn't want to go to a gym that, especially since I hadn't been in a gym in God knows how long. And I knew I was terrible at it, so I just didn't want to do it. So I got on, so I didn't show anybody anything, and I just got out, you know, I just got up and did it. Well, the funny thing that happened in that first 8 months of my transformation back then was that I became unemployed. And I hate to say it, but that was part of how I had that massive of a transformation, because I was able to concentrate on nothing but my food and my exercise for the most part. I mean, searching for a job didn't take up too much of my day, you know, especially because you were able to do a lot of that online. And so that entire time I was able to work out. Now, the next question becomes, how the hell did I get fat again? Well, obviously it's been a lot of years. So that's it, time. Time helped me get fat again. But what I did in that time is also part of it. So there were a few periods of time where I wasn't working out for months and months at a time. So that alone didn't help. A lot of what I do involves sitting at a computer, and of course that didn't help. So there's two reasons. No question that my diet changed. So I got eventually back, you know, over the years. I was eating good, but still overeating. Definitely an issue for me. And but I got back to just eating junk, you know, even to the point that I'd even have a pop, or what most of the country calls a soda. Not often. I still don't drink it often, but you know, overeating, even if I was eating well, overeating was still a major issue. And the problem happened in 2000, really just after my transformation in 2012. I wasn't sure what my next goal was going to be, because my only goal back then was to actually honestly control my type 2 diabetes, or at that point I was pre-diabetic and not diagnosed as type 2, because I wasn't. And I accomplished that goal. I was able to actually control my blood sugar and all of my other unfortunate issues, which were cholesterol and you know, blood pressure, obviously blood sugar. I mean, all of the stuff that tends to creep up on you in your 30s and 40s. You know, that's what was going down, you know. So anyways, so all those, so what happened back in 2000, I keep digressing here. The thing that happened back in 2013 was that, Jesus Christ, I'm out of shape, was that I tried to set a new goal. And there's a couple fairly famous bodybuilders out there, one female, one male, that, you know, we were having a conversation about what the hell I was going to do next at a convention. And what ended up happening was, you know, I brought up to them, just because they're bodybuilders, and you know, I said, hey, you know, when I was a kid, these local bodybuilders here in my town had mentioned that they thought I had the body to do something like that. And it was just something that, you know, I said, you know, maybe that's something I'll do. Really casual conversation. Well, unfortunately, those two wonderful people said there's no way you'll do it at whatever age, you know, 40 years old, I think I was at the time. There's no way you're going to do it at your age without steroids. And I'm like, fuck you. If that's the story you're telling all these kids out there, and I wasn't a kid, but if that's the advice you're giving people, I need to do something about that. So so I decided that I was going to start going to the gym and training for bodybuilding and then bulking up. Well, here's the problem with the word bulking up for anybody that's just lost a ton of weight. that just ends up being an excuse for overeating again, because calorie intake, you no longer care. You're trying to put on, you know, if you're going to get big, especially if you're going to get big without doing illegal drugs, which I've never done because, one, I can't inject myself anyways, nor can I let anybody else inject me, so that wasn't going to happen. So, but I wanted to show that, you know, screw those guys. You can become a natural bodybuilder. And I wasn't trying, when I, you know, even when I said that, and of course they couldn't get in my head to understand what I was even trying to say. But even when I said that was my goal back then, even when they said that, I said that was my goal back then, my goal was, wasn't to do any kind of major national show like they were doing. I mean, we're talking about like the 8-time world, or, Miss Olympia. I mean, and then a guy that trains with one of the other guys that are on the Mr. Olympia stage. I mean, these aren't just, you know, I wasn't talking about doing anything nationally. I was talking about going down to the local gym, this bodybuilding show, and just doing it once, you know, going through the experience. So they didn't fully understand what I was talking about anyways. But when I set that goal, that just ended up being an excuse to eat more. And so I was working on bodybuilding, working on packing on muscle by overeating. And one point or another, I just realized this is kind of dumb. I'm just getting fat again. And of course, in that period of time, I started, you know, powerlifting a little bit. And then I realized, well, I need to stop doing that. So I got into CrossFit to help try to lose the weight. CrossFit was okay, but CrossFit's great. Problem with CrossFit, well, I don't want to say anything negative about CrossFit, because I don't think there's anything truly negative. There's a lot of ego for some of the coaches, and there's a lot of ego for myself when it comes to, you know, doing things. And so, unfortunately, when I was very early on in CrossFit, they were going through their strength phase. And so they were lifting heavy, and I was, you know, ego-wise, I wanted to lift heavy. I mean, if they were going to lift heavy, I'm going to lift heavy, and I'm going to be the strongest guy in the room, which I was. The problem is that wasn't the goal. And so next thing I know, I'm back to a powerlifting gym, because I got into really liking how my bench was getting again. And I mean, up until that, I went to that particular CrossFit gym, I didn't max out. I didn't flat bench, especially for bodybuilding. I didn't need to. I didn't want to. So incline, decline, and flat bench was out. And definitely maxing was out. It wasn't going to happen. And then I was falling back into that again. So, again, I'm still working out. I'm still doing all these things, but it's just not happening for me. And then, unfortunately, after a few months of not working out, I went back to CrossFit again, and this is last year. And, well, that's an interesting time to stop. 4, 4, 4, 4. I don't know if that's a sign, an omen, or what, but we're going to stop there, because I've been, even though it doesn't show me riding for an hour, I've been riding close to an hour, on and off. This thing doesn't record if I'm not pedaling, so I guess that's your own opinion whether I was truly riding or not. But we're gonna go ahead and get off the bike right now and start wrapping up for the day. But to finish the story, so I went back to a CrossFit type gym, and it was last February 2018. After doing some sit-ups, I stood up, and my left arm was completely numb. I mean, when I say numb, it wasn't tingly numb. It just had no feeling. I couldn't pick it up. And of course, the first thing that everybody thinks is that I possibly had a stroke. And at the weight that I was at, yeah, it was possible. And at the time, one of the reasons that we really thought that I had a stroke was because I'm going to move. You're going to hear a little bit of noise here. I'm going to move my microphone also, so it's going to probably have some unfortunate noise for everybody. But just before I had started back up with the CrossFit type gym, and I say type gym because they basically train CrossFit, but they weren't a CrossFit affiliate. So anyways, I did during that time, just before that time, I think some buddies of mine were having a weight loss competition, and of course we had to weigh in, and just like the 12-year-old that I was at the time, ate everything in the refrigerator and everything else out there, and that caused me, obviously there was a lot of sodium in that food that I was eating to gain a ton of weight, the few days before the weigh-in. And so anyways, there shortly after is when I had done I was in the boot camp, or whatever you want to call it, the CrossFit gym or whatever, doing the workout, watt of the day, doing that, and like I said, my left arm went completely numb. So I got to the doctor, and of course they wanted to do a blood test, and we discovered that I was pre-diabetic again, or type 2, very high blood sugar level. My cholesterol was out of control at the time, and what else? And my blood pressure was very high. So all the main vitals were pretty effed up. So that is what it is. Of course, we didn't know if I had a stroke or not. And the downside to that, so the doctor basically said, you can't exercise until we figure this out. You can walk. And that's it. That's all I want you to do is walking. And I did that for a little bit of time, but I was in the gym doing it, and that just wasn't going to work for me. I can't be around weights, unfortunately, and not want to lift them. So I ended up stopping going to the gym eventually, but it took, because of my insurance, it took a long time before they allowed me to get the CAT scan, because what I didn't know is that the insurance companies also have a doctor that's looking at the data, and they decide if you if they agree whether or not you can have a CAT scan. So my doctor wanted to have the CAT scan based on what I said, not based on anything else necessarily. And the doctor on the insurance side was saying no. Eventually they agreed that I needed to do that. I think I had to have some more blood work done before they agreed, and so months, 2 more times or whatever. Anyways, it wasn't until July that I could have the CAT scan done. I think that's the time frame. It was June or July of last year, 2018. And when the results came back, and I think it was early August or late July or early August, came back negative. I did not have a stroke. So I was cleared to start working out again, and of course I had to make a decision of what I was going to do. Seeing how I was even more out of shape now, I didn't want to I didn't want to go back to CrossFit right away. I wanted to be something that eventually maybe I got back to, but definitely not something I wanted to do immediately. And so I went back to the regular gym, and eventually I started lifting weights. And while I was lifting weights, my ego got involved again, and I started lifting heavy weight again. And I would say I probably had, I definitely had some signs of a umbilical hernia before all of this, but I know I had to have had one, because I could push it back in. I could literally push everything back in as it got out of control. And as I started back in the gym lifting weights, it wasn't too long that I was lifting pretty heavy weight again. And so, I was still trying to do it for reps, but reps for me was over 400 pounds, and I'm still repping. I'm not trying to, brag by any means, but it was still heavy weight. Well, one of the days, whatever, I ended up tearing my umbilical area even worse, to a point, even if I had ever had it before, I never noticed when it happened. But this time it happened. It was red, sore, And then to the point where, I mean, blood pressure was super low because of it, because of, you know, you can look up why. But anyways, that was something that I wasn't going to be able to continue working out because it would make it worse. And so now I'm not working out again. Was scheduled to have surgery January 4th of this year, and when I went in for my pre-op the day before, the doctor said, well, do you want to have it now or do you want to wait? And of course I'm like, what are you talking about? And you know, he said, well, don't you want to lose some weight before you have the surgery? And I'm thinking, you know, this would have been nice for you to say to me before today. This would have been nice for you to say to me, like, you know, a month and a half ago when I had my initial appointment, but he didn't. So here we are. I decided not to have the surgery until I lose the weight. He told me the BMI he'd like me to be at is 35. He said the equivalent would be like 25 if I didn't have this body type. And so the poundage for me to get to a 35 BMI is, sorry, I'm trying to look at the chat at the same time here. So anyways, the poundage for me is 244 pounds. I am 5'10", 11, somewhere in there. And just doing the math on the BMI, that means 244 pounds, so I call that mission 44. And I don't know how long it's going to take. I mean, if you look back to 2012, that means it's going to take about, that means it's going to take about 8 months, but I have a job now and I own a business, and so it's probably gonna take a little longer. So my goal right now is next January to be at least at 244 pounds. I think that if I go all the way to next January, I should be able to get closer to 230 pounds or so, maybe less. And that's the goal. Get myself in shape enough to where I can have the surgery and then hopefully build the habit. And I've made the big investment. You know, I'm using this Wahoo Kickr. I have the bike. You know, the idea is to continue, you know, and there's no excuse now. I mean, the wintertime is no longer an excuse when you have this this piece of training equipment. And I don't know that I'll stay with Zwift. Zwift is something I've only been doing for a couple weeks now. I like it. It looks, you know, it's definitely something that I can see being fun. But yeah, hey, I might end up you know, going over to one of the other apps, or at least trying them. There's Sufferfest, there is Full Gas. There's quite a few different apps that you can use, and I'm going to keep trying to work on figuring out how to get the streaming to work properly and better, and trying to do it, at least sharing with you the what I've done, what hardware and equipment I'm using, and then what the cheapest possible way is for you to get started, which, by the way, I believe it's a speed sensor that you'd have to purchase, which you can buy on your own from Wahoo or many other sources, Garmin and anyone else. Anything that would attach directly to the app on your phone. You have to have a subscription if you're going to use Zwift. So that's, I think, $14 a month, something like that, which is cheaper than almost every other gym membership that you could ever have. So $14 a month to most people isn't a big deal. I know it is to some, but for most people that's not a big deal. You have to have some type of trainer to attach your bike to if you're going to use the biking portion of Zwift, and you can buy one for less than $100 on Amazon. That would work. So I think if you had a speed sensor, a cadence sensor would be possibly the two things, but I think you just need the speed sensor, or maybe the cadence sensor. I don't know. I'll do more research and hopefully get some links on there later on oaflife.com when I upload this video to it. But anyways, you can do it pretty cheap. Now I'm not all in as far as expense goes, but I definitely got one of the better trainers, and so I have the Wahoo Kickr 2018 model. And that's an immersive trainer, so you're getting feedback. So as you're going up a hill, the resistance is there, and as you're going down hills, and of course in the background there's the noise that helps make it feel like you're actually riding outside. And you know, with Wahoo, you can actually I don't want to digress too much, but with Wahoo, you can actually you can buy what's called the what the heck is that thing called? Anyways, you can take the front tire off also. The way mine's set up, I don't even have the rear tire on it. I'm directly connected to the trainer. But you can actually buy another piece of equipment that attaches to the front that is like called the lift or something along those lines. And it actually will raise your bike up and down in the front to simulate going up and down hills, which would just make the experience a little bit more interesting. But I don't want to spend that kind of money. Maybe next year I will if I really get into this and this doesn't become a coat hanger. You know what I'm talking about. So if I really do get into this, then I'll go ahead and possibly pick up that other piece of equipment from Wahoo. The other thing you can get is they have a fan, and that fan is also interactive, and that I obviously don't have that. You need to have some kind of fan going on. I actually have a ceiling fan just above my head that's helping to keep me cooled down while I'm riding indoors. That's one of the disadvantages of riding inside, is that you don't have the wind helping to cool you down as you're riding, and so you need some kind of fan in front of you or above you. And so they make a fan that's also interactive with the system. And so as you see, well, you can't see because my latency is an issue here on the computer, but if the leaves are blowing and the wind's going, you'll actually get that. And as you're going faster, the fan will go faster. And so it's also an interactive, immersive piece of equipment that you could tie to this. But you know, now you're talking about a significant expense if you bought everything that was available. And so in some respect, I'm not all in, even though I did make a pretty good investment on the trainer. But yeah, I'm going to try to share that with everybody, like what equipment you can use to get out there. And of course, Mission 44 is not going to be just about Zwift. You know, it's going to also be getting out there and exercising. One thing that I had promised myself back in 2012 is that I didn't want to just do one thing. And I did get stuck in that mode every so often where I was just doing one thing as far as my exercise goes. And that's not something I want to do in the future. I want to make sure that I'm doing multiple different things. So out hiking, you know, and again, like I said earlier, I have 2,000 acres of state game area that I have access to right outside my front door. And so there's a 4-mile loop of hiking. I've got a 2-mile loop, a 4-mile loop, and then there's a total of around 7 miles that you could actually hike out there. But it's a little backtracking. That's why I don't call the 7 miles a loop by any means. But anyways, so I want to do more than that. I want to get back out on the kayaks in the summer. I want to be out mountain biking in the summer, plus gravel bike riding. Hopefully get in enough shape, maybe do a few different events just to help keep me motivated. And I have to find a way to stay out of the gym. I can't go into a regular gym. I can't have weights because my ego won't let me not lift everything in there and not get into. I mean, what am I naturally gifted at? I'm naturally gifted at lifting heavy weight, and unfortunately, I'm, you know, at 47 and getting older every day, that's not something I should be doing. So I'm trying to make, you know, cycling my hobby and my, you know, the thing that I do in the background. And Zwift is going to be part of that, at least here in the beginning, and we'll see what happens, you know, down the road. But anybody that's watched this, I do appreciate you. I really do need the encouragement. I do need the chatting, the thumbs up. I believe if I get my cursor over here, I think these are thumbs up I may have received today. I don't really know, but that's kind of cool. So thank you to everybody that did that. I know we had a couple people watching the live stream, which any of you that are doing that, please hang in there. It'll get better. I'll figure this out. There won't be the latency issue that we have right now. I will continue to work on, you know, doing what I've got to do to make things work a little better. Right now, CPU usage is the biggest issue that I've got to deal with. I'm going to pull that over here so you can hopefully see a little bit of what I'm talking about. But So if you look right in here, you can see, I mean, they're definitely taxing my system, these two programs. But there's some other stuff going on in the background that's causing my CPU to get maxed out. And so what happens is that when you hit 100% CPU usage, something has to stop working. And in this case, as far as the stream's concerned, two things are going on. One, my little guy over, my little, let me get over here. You know, the little thing of me, that's not supposed to be frozen. That's actually supposed to be me on my, oh, that means I'm supposed to be done. Anyways, that's really supposed to be me live going through the camcorder, but it's frozen up right now. And then the other issue that you'll see is that all of the, I mean, it's really herky-jerky as far as the Zwift app right now, and so that's not normal either. It should be a nice, smooth deal, and that could be a lot of things. But the fact that I'm capping out the CPU just tells me that